Derby fans, are you ready to meet the teams that'll be doing battle here in the first bout? Let's hear it. Taking the track first from the near bench, decked out in red and black this evening, it's the Bombshells. Yeah.
And for the Bombshells, we've got number 3, Enema Burns. Number 19, Skeletori. 24K, Gold Digger. Number 48, Beat Her Cottontail. Number 55, Skid Vicious. Number 71, Mad as Sin. Number 333, Bed Bugs Bunny. 616, Antifa. Number 626, Remy Ruckus. Number 835, Scarin' Jaeger. 925, Evil Twin. 2011, Colette Razorcat. And your co-captain for the Bombshells is number 182, Hannibal Lecture. And your captain tonight, 11D4, Slappy Go Lucky. And your coaches for this evening are going to be Impaler Swift and Show Nuff.
Now from the far bench, wearing white this evening, it's the Runaway Brides. Zoop. And skating tonight for the Runaway Brides, number 00, Novocaine. Number D20, D&D's Nuts. Number 23, Murder Mittens. Number 25, Nightmare. Number 34, Pretty Hurt Machine. Number 96, Olive You Die. Number 151, Ash Smash'em. Number 310, Full Metal Anarchist. Number 420, Astro Thought. Number 487, To Kill Ya. Number 623, Hollywood. Number 816, Kansas City. Co-captain of the Runaway Brides, number 4, Cherry Kiss. And captain of the Runaway Brides, number 95, Lightning the Queen. Coaching tonight for the Runaway Brides, Mimi Mahler, Cryptic Callie. And so, therefore, are your team intros. Looking forward to the action tonight. Also, of course, Suki, later on, we have a minor assaults mashup bout. That is always so much fun. So we certainly hope if you've dropped in here for the Runaway Brides versus the Bombshells, please stick around, watch some of the best young roller derby skaters around. And I mean, certifiably so. They were runners-up to the national championship, the next to last one they had before COVID. So they are some of the best junior skaters around. Stick around. These are skaters who are between the ages of 10 and 17. And we'll, basically the whole program, we're going to basically fill the teams up with some of our adult skaters, and everybody's going to go to it. It's always so much fun. So we invite you to stick around for that after the conclusion of this first half of the evening.
And we've actually got some players and coaches on the track tonight that were actually graduates of the minor assault program.
That's right.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, which is also correct. Yeah, we've got Cryptic Callie. I mean, off the top of my head, Cryptic Callie, who, of course, Mimi Mahler, the assistant coach of the Runaway Brides. Let's see, my goodness. Slappy Go Lucky, who's captaining the Bombshells tonight, is a recent graduate. We'll go through it. I'm looking at numbers now, and they're popping into my head. There's Mans Incognito. There's, my goodness, so many of them. And, yeah, you can get basically, if you could get a look at who's going to be skating for the adult teams in a couple of years, you can say, I knew that kid when. You could do that. So, yeah, it's much fun, and it's so much fun to watch everybody really having a good time in a mashup bout. Everybody's out there to have fun.
Absolutely, and it's so cool to watch their progression, too, because they're coming in from – years of skating as a minor and then moving into the adult leagues. It's pretty incredible to see the skill progression.
Yeah, absolutely. We are ready to go. Looks like we're setting up for our first jam. That's Infidel Castro down there, who is actually game executioning for us. Wonderful. That's good to see Castro down there, making himself useful. Yuck, yuck, yuck.
And
Meanwhile...
And it looks like we've got Cherry Kiss for the Runaway Brides on the jammer line, as well as Evil Twin for the Bombshells.
Yeah, we are underway in our first jam. We'll let you kind of get a taste of the action here, and then we'll give you a little bit of Derby 101 over the next couple of them here. For the new people in the audience and watching us on Twitch, welcome to the live stream. Around the outside, that's Cherry Kiss, is your lead jammer.
Evil Twins coming right behind there. We'd like to call this a little bit of a jammer race. As you can see, they're pretty close together. Trying to get up to the pack to score some points.
Cherry up into the pack, tries to back in and get some points from the front wall and calls it off. So, let's go over what you just saw if this is your first time watching Bank Track Roller Derby. So you saw we've got an official timeout. That gives us an opportunity to speak about that. Well, actually, here comes Castro, so I'm going to have to get off the horn for 1 second. All right, official timeout over. We got 4 points on the board for the Runaway Brides, and we're going to get right back to it, it looks like. Just a brief stoppage to get the time adjusted. So, where were we? You will see here, standing behind the main pack, there are two skaters wearing stars on their helmets. Those are the jammers, and for this jam, they are Hollywood for the Runaway Brides.
And that looks like Bed Bugs Bunny for the Bombshells.
And we're going to have another official timeout. Great.
Hold that thought.
No, it's a challenge. Well, that is okay. We have... Just like you see in most major sports, there is a challenge process. We haven't even gotten to explain penalties yet. Slow down. My goodness, y'all.
We're just fast-forwarding. You're getting the quick and dirty right now.
The Bombshells are challenging either a penalty or nope, there go the eyes in the sky. So the Bombshells are challenging the points on the first jam. So we'll get to that in a moment. But that does give us a chance. So, Suki, meanwhile, those two skaters that you see that started behind the line that had stars on their heads, those are called the jammers. They are the point scorers for their teams. They have to get through that whole pack and then circle around, and then once they've circled around, after that, every skater they pass is worth a point. That's how you score. And so the goal is you want to get your jammer through the pack, but keep the other jammer from doing so. And essentially, everything springs from there. That kind of is your beginning and end of the discussion is you want your jammer to get out, get around, and start scoring points, and get around as many times as possible, which can be 4 to 5 cycles of the track, depending on how things work out and, how the teams are playing.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so that is what you want to do. So essentially, both teams are playing offense and defense simultaneously. You will see 3 other skaters for each side. There's a maximum of 5 for each side. If penalties are assessed, penalties are served in the following jam, and you'll see skaters in the penalty box. As you see right now, Remy Ruckus is sitting in the penalty box for the Bombshells. Sorry to make an example of you, Remy, but unfortunately, when you land in the penalty box early, you wind up in Derby 101. Meanwhile, players get 7 penalties, by the way, before they foul out or are ejected, as the terminology goes here. So, in the next jam, whenever that comes to pass after this challenge ends, the Bombshells will be 1 skater down. So it's kind of like a penalty box in hockey. The Bombshells are going to go out there with 4 skaters. They'll be -1 blocker. There is a blocker that wears a stripe on their head. They're called the pivot. They start in front of the pack, in what is called the pivot alley, and they are kind of your defensive captains / your offensive masterminds, and you'll see them calling out strategies and whatnot. They're kind of the linchpin of what the blocking strategies going on. We'll get into some more of that's kind of gave us a chance to talk about the basics of it.
This actually worked out really well.
Really does, yeah. So now we're back up here, and
so who's confused yet? I see your hands. We will keep on going. We will keep on explaining. So if you were looking at the scoreboard, you probably noticed that the points that the Runaway Brides accrued has actually gone down. So that means that the Bombshells challenge was successful.
That indeed is correct. Yeah, so the basically at the end of that jam there, Cherry Kiss had come in late, and the Bombshells successfully argued that Cherry didn't get those last points. Meanwhile, back to the action on the track.
Jammer
there goes
race.
Bedbugs Bunny for the Bombshells had gotten out. Hollywood right out behind. And again, if you're new to Derby, the lead jammer, the jammer that gets out first, is the lead jammer, and they are allowed to signal to stop the clock and end the jam. That's why you've seen these jams not go a full 60 seconds. And the strategy there is to get around and get your points before the second jammer can get any. And that's what you saw Cherry Kiss do in the first jam, trying to get 4 points and stop the clock.
And the signal is a kind of frantic two-armed movement towards their hips.
Yes, a chopping motion to both hips, a defined chopping motion to both hips. Your jammers right now, that's Skeletori for the Bombshells.
And Cherry Kiss for the Runaway Brides, who has made it out of the pack and is going to be circling around here, looking for some more points.
Skeletori down to the inside and has yanked off that star cover, but is still the jammer of record at the moment. Meanwhile, Cherry Kiss is going to weave through the pack and get through, finish off a scoring pass. Cherry now still trying to come around. The pack is kind of slowed down here in the corner with 13 seconds to go on the jam clock. Skeletori is still not able to get out for the Bombshells, and we've got about 5 seconds left on the jam clock now. And that'll do it. There, the jam clock expires.
Do you think we should stand?
All right, we're back to it. That was a 10-point jam for the Runaway Brides. Evil Twin again for the Bombshells. Looking at Full Metal Anarchist at the front of the pack now, trying to get around a couple of Bombshells blockers.
Yeah, and Evil Twin is trying to get around some of the Runaway Brides blockers, who are notorious for not letting people through.
Right, so both halves of the pack have come together now. There's 36 seconds left on the jam clock here.
Full Metal Anarchist is making their way to the front of the pack. Bombshells are kind of there, but the Brides are there to help their jammer kind of work their way through. So let's see how this plays out a little bit. Evil Twins also making their way towards the front of the pack. This is really good defense.
Yeah, very stout defense here in this jam with 15 seconds left. You're quickly approaching the point at which if anybody gets out as lead jammer, it's not going to matter because they won't have time to get around. So you'll probably see both teams to a certain extent relax here and realize that that is the case.
And it is very uncommon for a jammer not to get out of the pack.
Yep.
So that's excellent defense on both sides.
Yes, excellent. So the score remains 11.
Got number 4, Cherry Kiss again at the jammer line for the Brides, and Bedbugs Bunny for the Bombshells.
Taking a look at the pack, and now Bugs is going to get up to the front. There's Remy Ruckus up there wearing the pivot stripe, trying to help Bugs get through. Bugs along the inside, and now Bugs is out again. Second lead jam for Bugs. Only Bombshells jammer to get out and get lead jam. This time Bugs out by herself for the Bombshells.
No jammer race. It looks like Cherry Kiss is working towards the back there to kind of get through. Now is turned into defense. The jammer can do that for those of you who are new. They can go ahead and kind of switch positions.
Yeah, jammer can absolutely block all they want to. Cherry Kiss took a middle of this scoring attempt, is going to weave down to the M side, just got blocked off the track by Lightning the Queen, so is going to rush to get back up on the track and call it off. Rush to get back up on the track and then caught a shoulder from Ash Smash, and that could have been a disaster. All right, we're back to it. That's going to be Hollywood for the Runaway Brides.
And Skeletori for the Bombshells. And Hollywood is already out of the pack on their way to collect some points here. Skeletori trying to make their way through the pack outside, getting a little bit of help from fellow teammate, but not quite getting there. Hollywood is just whipping around that track.
So Tori gets through, spinning along the inside. Here comes Hollywood.
Now you may have noticed that the pack sometimes travels really quickly and sometimes the pack travels very slowly. The strategy behind a fast traveling pack is to keep that jammer, in this case Hollywood, from getting to them as quickly.
Right.
It's to keep them on the move and not able to collect those points.
So 7 points for the Brides. This is going to be Cherry Kiss once again for the Brides. That's Evil Twin for the Bombshells. Seems like we've got a pretty solid rotation of jammers early on here.
Absolutely.
Nice solid core of jammers going up there who probably have matching blocking sets as well. Cherry Kiss has not having much success this time. Yes, Evil Twin out for the Bombshells.
And so Evil Twin's coming around to score those points now because they got out of the pack already. Cherry Kiss is working on making their way around to collect some points as well.
Twin gets knocked into the rail. Blocked there at the front of the pack.
And again, calling off the jam before the jam clock expires is a specific strategy. As quickly as Cherry Kiss was coming up, it was important to kind of stop that clock and keep them from getting points.
And now up to the jammer line, all by their lonesome as Bedbugs Bunny. Oh, there goes Bedbugs Bunny. Looks like we've got the wrong jammer came down. It's a power jam for the Runaway Brides. It's a power jam for the Runaway Brides. So a power jam is what happens when your jammer picks up a penalty. You don't get to skate with a jammer in the next jam. So this is Hollywood all by her lonesome out there now and is going to try to get around as many times as possible. The Brides can just focus on offense.
And the Bombshell blockers are going to do their best to keep Hollywood back from doing so.
Right,
because they have that full 60 seconds to just go for it.
So far, the Bombshells are even to the task. You do often see in a power jam, you'll see the jammer get out rather quickly oftentimes when a team can just kind of clear the opening for their jammer. So excellent defensive work so far by the Bombshells. There was a great block on the front end by Lightning the Queen that really failed to generate any interest. Lightning wipes out Skid Vicious in the back of the pack. Now Skid's going to be pinned in the back, and that's going to slow the pack down. So those three defenders in the front of the pack are now trying to keep Hollywood in, and Hollywood gets to go on by. Usually when you get blocked off the track, you have to come on behind the blocker that knocked you off. But since Scaren Yeager also came off the track, that meant Hollywood got to go. But the Bombshells defense held tight enough that they're going to surrender no points on the power jam. What a defensive stand for the Bombshells in the first power jam of the game.
Which, again, is also very unusual.
Absolutely. In a tightly fought bout like this has been so far, that could have been an absolute gold mine for the Runaway Brides early on to set the tone.
Absolutely.
Okay, the Brides do get 2 points on the back end. I spoke too soon, and that's what I get for speaking too soon, but I'm also blind.
2 is still really low for a
jam. I also couldn't read the roster clearly and misgendered Bugs. I'm sorry about that. I got the wrong line when I glanced down at my roster. So apologies.
And it looks like
Meanwhile,
is that Skeletori? No, wait. Yes, Skeletori
it is Tori.
for the Bombshells, and it looks like
Full Metal Anarchist.
thank you. Full
And
Metal
is
Anarchist is for the
Pinned
brides.
at the back of the pack. Tori gets around but comes off the track and then spins. Those two blockers out of play. That's another thing if you're new to Derby. You got to be within 20 feet of the pack to block. And if you're beyond that point, you have to stick your hands up and let them go. And that's what happened there. Now those front blockers will be in the pack. Full Metal Anarchist gets out for the Runaway Brides.
Skeletori trying to make their way through a couple of the Runaway Brides blockers. Getting back on the track and heading out.
There we go.
And
Tori
calls it off.
Tori did a good job of finishing off that scoring pass, and you'll sometimes see a jammer kind of, because you get the point once you pass them, you don't lose it if they go back by you again. So sometimes you'll see a jammer will call the jam off, seemingly not having gotten by everybody, but a good jammer will know when they've passed each of the four skaters. Meanwhile, we have a team timeout. Was it a team timeout? Okay. All right, team timeout by the Bombshells. Somebody lost a wheel there in that previous jam. So they're going to get that repaired. Let's go ahead and talk about some of our sponsors and whatnot. What do we got here on the docket tonight?
Well, if you're loving the Derby, you want to go ahead and visit the Arizona Derby Dames merch booth to get your favorite league and team merchandise. Speaking of which, who's here for the brides tonight? And who's here for the Bombshells? All right then. Well, head on over to the booth and get your stuff, get your merchandise. We have brand new t-shirt designs from your favorite teams, and check out our discounted merch. That's also where you can get your souvenir cups for the night. Come grab some keychains, tote bags, patches, and more. And watch out for our new merch cart. Our goods can now come to you.
We are ready to get back to the action. That is going to be All of You Die for the Runaway Brides on the jammer line.
And no stranger to the jammer line for the Bombshells, Evil Twin.
You'll see Olive, and Olive is a primary member of one of our other home teams, the Coffin Draggers, so you'll see skaters sometimes subbing in to help fill out the rosters.
And isn't Olive a graduate of the Minor Assaults?
Olive is indeed another veteran of the Minor Assaults. Olive, a very effective jammer at all times, no matter which team they're skating for.
Absolutely.
And is out and clear. Close game here after that jam by the Bombshells. It's 20-16, and Evil Twin's going to get out a couple running steps, but could not quite get by Lightning. Lightning comes off the track, though, with that block.
And meanwhile, All of You Die is trying to get past some Bombshell blockers here at the back to clear to the three wall. Bumps her off into the infield. And it gets called off.
Olive gets up and calls it off. I'm going to say, early on here, spirited defense from the Bombshells. Really, really tough, gritty, grinding in. Like, it's the brides kind of come with that calling card. But I like what the Bombshells so far are buckling down. And I think the score reflects that.
Well, then for those of you who don't know, the Bombshells need to have some good defense because the Runaway Brides are undefeated.
Yeah, the Brides are undefeated on the season. They're currently tied atop the standings with the Doomsday Valkyries. The Bombshells are looking to get their first win, and if they can get a win, that might go a long way to getting them in the playoffs. The top 4 teams of 5 make the playoffs, so the Bombshells are definitely not out of it, and with effort like they've shown so far, they could be in the making. That is going to be Bedbugs Bunny once again. Out and clear for the Bombshells. I would say lead jam has been about half-half here in the early going. It's been pretty evenly matched between these two teams. Bedbugs Bunny just eats up all of the shoulder from Hollywood, though, but then gets up, back up to Hood again, and is going to try to get by. Saw Nightmare taking a tumble at the back of the pack. We've got 20 seconds left in this jam. Here comes the pivot, Remy Ruckus. Here comes Gold Digger. They're still trying to clear some space for Bugs at the back of the pack. And still trying to get by Hollywood. Hollywood unloads again directly into Bugs' clavicle, and then Bugs down to the inside. They wipe out a Bride's blocker as collateral, and that ends the jam. Wow. This is really good, grimy, get your elbows and knees dirty roller derby, isn't it? Yowza.
I know, I just saw that hit that Novocaine put on Bedbugs Bunny, and I'm like, ooh.
Let's step aside for 1 second. was a discussion there. Bombshells picking up 5 points in that jam, so 23-21. You saw there, and that again is what we talked about our regulators, and point out to you that a lot of these regulators here are just doing this for several of them have family members, whatnot, and are here to support, but several of them are just here because they like to help the league. Honestly, I mean, Impow's here right now. Impow's just in town. Impow's wearing D20. D20's been recycled since Impow was here. D&D's Nuts is wearing it, so Impow is here. Right? So, but yeah, Impow's just in town and just thought to stop by and hang out and roller derby with us a little bit. But you see these regulators, again, it's an all-volunteer staff. They're out there just to help things go. They're out there to make this as a full and rich sporting event as one might want to see on any of the major sporting networks and ESPN 360, my gosh.
And to keep it really safe.
Meanwhile, we're back to the action. Again, you could throw a blanket over this one. 23-21 Brides. It's Cherry Kiss on the jammer line trying to put a stop to the recent Bombshell scoring run. And Skeletori. Yeah, Tori once again for the Bombshells. And Tori has trying to fight through at the front of the pack.
Cherry Kiss is towards the back of the pack, working their way through.
Yeah.
Looks like Astro thought maybe he's trying to help out getting Cherry through that wall of red there, the Bombshells.
Yeah, but if you watch that wall of Bombshells, watch the action here. Is that wall of Bombshells, there's always one of them in front of Cherry at all times. They may not be together, but you can see that's what the recycling does. Now Cherry gets through and gets clear. However, they ate 30 seconds off the clock, and now Skeletori is going to try to get out as well. Runs into a phalanx of defenders. Has Mads Incognito to help and gets out. So we'll try to cap this at one scoring pass for Cherry Kiss.
Cherry once again meeting up with those blockers.
Now here comes Skeletori. Cherry Kiss falling off the track and has to call it off at the last second. All right, so let's check on the score there.
It looks like that was a 5-point jam for the Brides.
3-point jam.
3-point jam, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're worried. That's okay.
I'm an English professor. I'm not a math professor.
Just having perfect pitch problems up here. I heard feedback, or I thought it was more feedback, and it was just the guitar and the under music. Meanwhile, jamming for the Bombshells, and out and clear once again, Evil Twin.
Evil Twin.
And what could be the last jam of the first quarter.
Let's see, is that Full Metal Anarchist there at the back for Runaway Brides trying to push their way through?
Yeah, it is. Pack is really staggered out. Evil Twin down to the inside and an excellent block
by Lightning McQueen.
And really used Twin's momentum. Twin came off the track and went well out of bounds and had to come back behind the pack. So excellent block by Lightning strategically, not just actionally. And then that time comes off.
Yeah, our jammers are trying to get through here. Looks like Evil Twin's going to call
Twin.
that off.
Yeah, Twin's going to get on up. We're going to call it off. And we will have a stoppage in play. One moment. We are going to roll into the quarter break. We're going to take 1 second there. We had Hollywood, who went down hard at the very end of that jam and is now getting back to the bench under her own power. Usually, it felt like it was very strange to say we're going to quarter break and then not address the elephant in the room. We don't usually identify skaters like such, so I apologize. However, just wanted to make sure that everybody's aware we're stepping into the quarter break. It'll be 5 minutes till we come back. We'll give you an update on Hollywood. She's being tended to at the moment by the medics at the bench after crawling there under her own power. Thank you.
All right, we're heading back into the second quarter. The score as it stands is 26-26. Can't get any closer than that. And it looks like on the jammer line, we have got All of You Die for the Runaway Brides and Scaren Yeager for the Bombshells. Looks like Olive's headed out there to the front of the pack, though, meeting some bombshell resistance. Scaren Yeager trying to get through. The Brides trying to hold them back. Again, really good examples of defense on both sides of the teams here. Still no lead jammer yet. All of You Die and Scaren Yeager actually towards the back of the pack together. Again, meeting up with some opposition. The Runaway Brides are pulling a 3 or 4 wall there. My goodness. Going to take a little finessing to get through that. Really tight pack here. Again, both jammers still stuck in there. Blockers are doing their jobs tonight. Scaren Yeager trying to get through those 2. Lightning the Queen, it looks like Astrothought for Brides. And it looks like All of You Die is out for the Brides as our lead jammer coming around to score some points while Scaren Yeager still looking to get out. And we lost time. Yeah, that was a really fast 60 seconds. And we've got Skeletori now for the Bombshells, and I'm trying to see the number. Oh, that's Pretty Hurt Machine for the Brides. Both jammers coming out real hot there. Pretty Hurt Machine's trying to get up towards the high, then comes down to the low, and already Skeletori is out for the Bombshells and moving their way around. Pretty Hurt Machine is getting out as well, so we got both jammers out of the pack and looking to score. Skeletori making some hand signals there to her teammates and calls it off before Pretty Hurt Machine can make it up to the pack. And we've got the familiar pair of Cherry Kiss and Evil Twin on the jammer line. Waiting for the go-ahead. Everybody's looking. Everybody's waiting. There we go. Cherry doing a little bit of jive in there, weaving through. Looks like Evil Twin's getting towards the front of the pack and is out, ready to score some points. Cherry Kiss caught up a little bit with 3 of the Bombshell blockers back there, while Evil Twin's coming around for some points. Bride blockers are setting up. Evil Twin gets knocked out onto the infield there. Cherry Kiss gets knocked out too, but is back on in a flash. And it looks like Evil Twin is out of the pack now, having collected, I believe, some points. And Cherry Kiss is out as well. Looks like we got some tumbling going on in the pack there a little bit. Everybody's trying to move really quickly. The Brides have set up a nice wall there at the front to try and stop Twin as she calls off the jam.
I'll tell you, kids, don't grow up tall. You'll get asked to do stuff all the time. Meanwhile, well, we're hanging a, I apologize. I'm just going to be honest with you. We're trying to hang a banner up here in the announcer desk, and they asked me to help, and so I was trying to stretch the banner and hang it on one of the hooks, and one of them broke and fell into the nest.
No.
So, yeah, that's what happens when you ask me for help, is things go wrong. Meanwhile, at the jammer line, that's Bedbugs Bunny again for the Bombshells.
And Full Metal Anarchist for the Brides.
And this has turned into a 10-point Bombshells lead, 36-26. It was tied up going into the quarter break. Didn't even have a chance to mention that since we were checking on Hollywood. And then they're out again. The Bombshells again lead jam with Bedbugs Bunny.
Full Metal Anarchist is at the back there. Looks like Remy Ruckus and I think that's Gold Dig Her. No, that's not. That's Beat Her Cottontail. So sorry. Building a wall there to try and stop them. Bedbugs Bunny and Full Metal Anarchist on the infield there.
Both of them went down extremely hard and got up rather slowly, and now moving on again with 13 seconds left in the jam.
You would get up slowly too if you hit that infield. It's just concrete, people. It's just concrete.
And we tell people, like, the infield, there's a difference between falling on the track and falling on concrete. I know this from doing improvised theater, which I fling myself all over the room. And falling on the wooden stage versus falling on the concrete floor, that concrete reflects every bit of that right back into all your joints.
Yes, the track has some
hard.
bend.
Yeah.
But the infield does not.
Yeah, you'll feel every bit of that within several minutes. So another 2 points for the Bombshells. 38-26, Bombshells are in front. That's All of You Die for the Brides.
And Skeletori for the Bombshells.
See, it takes me a second because Olive borrowed one of Cherry's jerseys, so it says
Right.
Cherry Kiss and then has 96 tacked onto it. Meanwhile, Skeletori out again for the Bombshells. Lead jammer,
And
Cherry Kiss.
Yeah, and here comes All of You
Olive,
Die,
excuse me,
hot on
there
the
we
tail.
There I go. I'm looking at Olive and I said Cherry. So Tori quickly up to the pack. The Bombshells.
Oh.
Blocker. Ooh, wow. Look out. My goodness, everybody colliding into each other. Skeletori at the back of the pack, frantically trying to call it off. With All of You Die barreling in with a full head of steam, but no points for Olive on the pursuit. Although we always say, always pursue, always skate through the whistle. You never know what you're going to pick up at the back of the pack.
And it looks like Evil Twin doesn't ever want to take a break, so she's back on the jammer line for the Bombshells.
Yeah, Evil Twin on the jammer line, and for the Runaway Brides for the first time tonight, that's Pretty Hurt Machine, number 34.
Actually, no, Pretty Hurt Machine's already been on the track.
Ah, well, then that must have been while I was hanging a
You
banner.
were hanging a banner.
See what I mean? See, I track stats. I turn around. The two jams that happened while I wasn't watching, they didn't happen. They don't exist in my head. I can't stat for those. Apparently, Pretty Hurt Machine is jammed twice. You want to just announce the rest of the bout, Sookie?
Oh.
Meanwhile, fighting along the inside is Evil Twin, getting out for the Bombshells to a huge cheer from the crowd. Bombshells really have the last several jams of the first quarter and here early in the second. The Bombshells have absolutely come to play. Evil Twin gets a heck of a block at the back of the pack from Night Mary. Mary checking over her shoulder and ensuring that Evil Twin wasn't going to go anywhere. And Evil Twin calls it off. 6 points for the Bombshells on that. A scoring pass plus for Evil Twin.
See, it looks like that's Slappy Go Lucky for the Bombshells.
That is Slappy Go Lucky.
And I believe
for the
this is
Bombshells.
Slappy's first go at Jammer for the night.
I will agree with you on that.
And Lightning the Queen for the Brides.
That
yes.
is right. We got captain on captain right here. Oh, captain, my captains. Slappy Go Lucky down to the end, ready to go along the inside, and right behind Scary Jaeger and not able to get through.
Yeah,
Around
Lightning
the
the Queen
outside
just
goes
decided
Lightning.
to not even make any contact with anybody in the pack and just
Wow.
circled around.
You
Coming
can
in for some points here.
You can see the strategy. I could see Slappy looking at Jaeger just before the whistle, and then Jaeger was going to run fullback, and it just couldn't quite get there. That last blocker was able to bust that up. Lightning now is not able to have, has not yet been able to finish off this scoring pass. Is up there now getting some help from Murder Mittens. And
Bombshell's doing a good job at keeping Lightning back.
yeah, excellent two-person block there. You saw Jaeger like steering Mads incognito, but then grabbed Mads' arm and kept Mads from going off the track and kept it a legal block. Excellent little
That's a fairly common pair right there.
yeah.
They work together real well.
very, very, again, to keep your blocker from going off and keeping it from being a free pass.
So it looks like scoring. Let's take a check here.
Runaway Brides put 5 points on the board, and
Yeah.
that's the first points for the Brides. We are at 6:44 to go in the second quarter, and the Bombshells defense had held the Brides scoreless in this quarter until now. 46-31, Bombshells in front by 15. That's Skeletori on the jammer line.
And Holly Hood for the Brides.
Tori gets a heck of a block. Night Mary's in there doing damage. Right now is stuck behind Remy Ruckus and still
Hood
being
is
an
just
effective
pushing
blocker.
and
Right.
pushing to get through.
So Tori fights through. Holly Hood waits along the inside. Wow. Holly Hood just did a stutter step and held up and waited for Remy Ruckus to go by and went through. I can't even. I am just about to jump up here and run out of this arena like an N1 mixtape. That was ridiculous. Oh my goodness. What a move. And now Holly Hood along the inside, pops back up on the track, calling off the jam is Skeletori. Wow, we're going to have to check on that. I'm going to eagerly wait and see if there were any penalties there at the end. Holly Hood gets 2 points at the end on the pursuit. Like we said, that's why you skate through the whistle. So, no untoward penalties there at the end, it looks like. Nothing late coming in, no. Nice and clean Derby action. 48-33, 2 points for both sides.
And it's got Evil Twin on the track for jamming for the Bombshells, and All of You Die for the Brides. Looks like both jammers trying to fight through there. Olive's towards the back of the pack, moving their way up. And makes it out for the brides.
So Olive racing around the outside. Scary Yeager trying to clear a space for Evil Twin. Now does it again, trying to get Lightning off the track, but Astro Thought's there.
That was a pretty successful attempt there because Evil Twin is out.
Astro Thought comes off, so Evil Twin gets the wave by. So here's Olive now, trying to get by Yeager, down to the inside, blocked off. Yeager gets back up to reestablish, now has help, so Olive calls it off. Evil Twin was gaining along, coming up to force an end to that scoring jam. 3 points for the brides. So with 4:30 to go until halftime, it's Bombshells 48, Brides 36.
And we've got Bedbugs Bunny for the Bombshells on the line, and Kansas City for the brides, although it looks like we're getting
an official timeout indeed. So a second to talk things over here for the regulators. We'll get to a couple more of our sponsors. We also wanted to mention the food truck.
Yes.
As we approach halftime, and we'll get an eye out there and see if the food truck's ready to serve here momentarily. But our food truck this evening is Taqueria Las Palmas. They have tacos, burritos, quesadillas, nachos, and more. I will walk out there during halftime and eyeball their menu and give you an idea of what they have. And great time to visit them is halftime. Also, don't forget intermission between the bouts. We got half an hour between the bouts to grab a bite or take some to go. Take some before you leave. We love supporting our food trucks to come out here. We love to give them a reason to come back, especially tasty ones like Taqueria Las Palmas.
And we've got a couple of sponsors we want to go ahead and mention. First one is Lost Dutchman Tattoo, a tattoo shop specializing in various styles from realism to traditional. You can also customize your own tattoo, and walk-ins are accepted. The shop is located at 4121 North 19th Avenue, east side of 19th Avenue, north of Indian School Road. Also, we've got Sidewalk Surfer as one of our sponsors. They have a large selection of roller skates and skate accessories. They build custom skates and service on all brands of skates. Open 10 to 8 Monday through Saturday and 10 to 6 on Sundays. Located at 2602 North Scottsdale Road in Scottsdale. And that was perfect timing because we're now back on the track. Looks like we've got Holly Hood for the Runaway Brides on the jammer line, as well as Skid Vicious for the Bombshells.
Yeah, we have totally changed up the jammer lineup coming out of that timeout, so both teams have something up their sleeve here. Skid's going to try to follow those two blockers at the front. There's a very small pack, which I'm sure is what the teams were talking about. Holly Hood is going to get out. Holly Hood's clear for the brides. And now with the full head of steam, there's Skid around the outside, and Skid gets blocked into the rail, but gets around Lightning. Wow.
Holly Hood coming around to score some points, and Skid Vicious is coming up and around the corner there.
Holly Hood breezes through the pack. Only two Bombshells blockers to navigate, so Holly Hood gets through and gets that standard 4 and calls it off. So 48-40. And now the Runaway Brides are putting together a small run. The Runaway Brides have now put 12 unanswered points on the board. We are looking now at Murder Mittens for the Runaway Brides.
And Skeletori for the Bombshells.
This has been close throughout, as you might guess looking at the score if you're just joining us on Twitch.
Skeletori's bumping around up there at the high.
Now Tori is going to try to kind of get some help there at the back of the pack. An excellent block there, pinning in that one blocker that was keeping Tori kind of stuck at the back.
Yeah, and it looks like Murder Mittens is struggling there at the back with the Bombshells.
Yep. Wow, big block by
there.
Astro Thought with the follow-through. You know that's an emphatic block when you get to follow through with the rest of the arm.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, we at present, as one of the eyes in the sky said, we have no jammers. Both jammers have their stars off and stashed. Again, if you're new to Derby, they can pass the star to the pivot. That's one thing the pivot can do is become the jammer, but you got to get there, and they got to have a clear path out of the packs. And as far as yet, both teams are completely aware of the strategy.
And
so
remember,
we've got 10 seconds.
The pivot has the stripe on their helmet.
Right.
So that is the only team member who can take the star.
And there we
and
are.
Now
that
we're just kind of,
defensive standoff. Both teams tried to pull off a star pass, and both teams defended it
just
well.
Just kind of coasted into that jam finish.
Well, we're 2 minutes until halftime, and neither team is over 50 yet. So this has been a defensive slugfest throughout. And I can say, too, if you are just joining us on Twitch, early on it was 18-7 Runaway Brides. The Brides had a power jam, and I really feel like that was the linchpin. That the Bombshells held that to 2 points on a power jam.
Really
and
unheard
it really,
of.
since then, it really feels like since it was 20-7, the Bombshells have just been on fire. Like that felt like that power jam defensive stand early on really ignited them, and they've really skated hard since then.
Absolutely. This has been a fun game to watch because it is so close. You never know what's going to happen.
And now out for the Bombshells once again. There's Bedbugs Bunny, and Bugs is going to try to put a stop to the current Runaway Brides scoring.
And we've got Night Mary jamming for the Brides towards the back there. Ooh.
That's right.
Bedbugs Bunny takes a little bit of a tumble there.
Yeah, Bugs got hit hard. Bugs knocked down. Night Mary now out the front of the pack to try to keep this to one scoring pass for Bugs. A cheer goes up from the crowd. Bugs finishes off that scoring pass and calls it off. We've seen some really good action here early on, and not the least of which was Hollywood's stutter step of the year, like I said. Oof, I'm still not over that. My goodness. I'm going to clip that and post it on several major sports fan forums. Yowza. Meanwhile, it's 53-40. That was 5 for the Bombshells. 42 seconds to go until halftime. That's Hannibal Lecture for the Bombshells.
And Cherry Kiss for the Brides.
Seeing both teams starting to diversify their jammer rotation here. Roughly
Looks
at
like
the same
Cherry
time.
Kiss is out. Is our
Cherry
lead
Kiss
jammer?
Jammed more than once. Cherry Kiss is jammed often.
Hannibal Lecture still kind of towards the front of the pack there, but now coming out, ready to score some points. Both teams look like we got a fast-traveling pack here. I think that's in reference to Cherry Kiss, who just got bumped out. Cherry is a very fast skater, and if the pack travels fast, it makes them have to skate that much harder.
And we've got time for one more jam here. The quarter clock did not expire during game action, so we have another jam. I was going to say, too, you saw there at the front of the pack, that was Gold Digger and Scarin' Jaeger, that really the two of them together took on a full-speed Cherry Kiss and were able to kind of route her down to the infield. And again, roller derby, the beautiful thing about roller derby is it's not all about knocking somebody out of their skates and knocking their mouth guard out. That was really like jiu-jitsu. They just took Cherry's momentum and they turned themselves into an angled plane and routed her off to the infield. And that's just the same as if somebody had unloaded a fully loaded shoulder into her clavicle.
Right.
That's the beauty of watching this sport. I really love it.
Yeah, it's not all about brute force.
Yeah, it really is. You know, it's what do we got here? Looks we got a timeout, an official timeout, it looks like. We have a challenge.
Oh, we got
Runaway
a challenge.
Brides are going to challenge, and since we've lost our eyes in the sky, I'm going to guess that means it's a points challenge. There they go. Yep. So it'll be a points challenge by the Brides. They're going to challenge the amount of points they got, and that usually means they want more. Rarely do teams challenge to give back points. Bold strategy, Cotton. We'll have to see if it works out for them. Voluntarily surrender points. We think it makes the referees like us. Meanwhile, we'll find out what that challenge is here. As I said, we'll find out the success of this points challenge once it comes back to it. But yeah, really, sometimes I touch on this. The beauty of roller derby and both bank track and flat track. By the way, quick pause. Our flat track leagues, we love you. Let's see, who's skating tonight? It's the roller girls, I believe, right? AZRG? I think AZRG has about tonight. If so, I say hello to your Twitch stream, and I hope you're watching us on your phone and your laptop at the same time. Let's see. Tilted Thunder. Oh, my goodness. Tilted Thunder, the Bank Track League up in Washington. They have about tonight. Murray Grande, my fellow announcer, was making a joke about how 12 years ago he used to go in full suit and tie, and now he's like, these jeans are stained. I don't care. And I said, if they're looking at your jeans, you're not talking pretty enough.
Exactly.
So, but here in town, the Arizona Roller Girls, these are flat track leagues. You're looking at bank track. Flat track is what it sounds like. Flat track can be much more accessible for people because if you put tape on a basketball court, you've got a flat track for roller derby, and then you just need gear. So our flat track leagues are wonderful. We love our sister leagues here in town. It's the Arizona Roller Girls and Arizona Skate Club that both skate out in the East Valley. There is Phoenix RD. Phoenix RD skates in the West Valley. Their bouts are out the Peoria Sports Complex. They're an all-gender flat track league. So if you've got, somebody who's all-gender that wants to do it, look up Phoenix RD. That's great fun. I've announced for them. Announced for all the leagues, actually. Everybody but Skate Club. They ought to give me a call. I even announced for ASU. Yeah, ASU has a team. They just had their fall semester bout in December. We really love it. And big shout-out to all of them. And, of course, AZRD, Arizona Roller Derby, is kind of the granddaddy of them all here in town. And Love them as well. They've got several tournaments coming up here in the spring. Roller derby, though, great for everybody. It takes all kinds of body types, all kinds of people. Anybody can play it as long as you can skate and stay upright. They will teach you how to do it. It really is a lot of fun. And Suki was just showing me here and mentioning, and I hadn't thought to mention, several of our skaters here for AZDD also skate for flat track. Mimi Mahler skates for AZRD and is actually going to skate in it's the World Cup, right?
Yeah, so it's World Cup 2025 for Fuego Latino, if I'm saying this right, Latino roller derby.
Yeah,
so yay to Mimi Mahler, who's coaching for the brides tonight.
That's right. Yeah, excellent. So this is the last jam of the first half. Points challenge was unsuccessful. I hope I said that already, but I may not have because I was talking, and when I talk, I don't say things.
And while we were talking, Cherry Kiss already just spun around and made a scoring pass or
Cherry
something.
Tiptoes through the pack there. Meanwhile, Skeletori is your jammer for the Bombshells and is as yet not clear. Cherry this time runs into some trouble down there in the back straightaway. It looks like Aunt Tifa is in there trying to key some defense. Now Cherry around the outside gets clear. Tori is still the jammer and is going to take off after Cherry, but Cherry's going to get one more crack at this pack with 16 seconds left on the jam clock. Tori coming as fast as she can, slaps the star on. Good blocking action to the back of the pack by those Bombshells blockers to keep Cherry Kiss from getting more points than she may have. That'll take us up to halftime. We're going to get the score. The Brides put 12 points on the board leading into halftime, and the Brides take the lead. 54-53. Would you look at that? The Brides with a huge jam to close out the first half.
And let's talk about how low scoring this is.
Yeah, wow. Like I said, we just now had both teams tip over 50, so it's looking at this point like I'm going to first one to 100 wins. What are we going to do? We call it at 100? Wow. So it's a 15-minute halftime. I am eagerly looking forward to the second half. I can't even tell you how excited I am right now, Suki. I am.
Yeah, this is great. This is turning out to be a great game.
Yes. Anyway, yeah, the food truck outside, Taqueria Las Palmas. I looked at their menu. It's like their ad says, burritos, nachos, and they have a Fiesta bowl, which is a wonderful. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, I've heard of the place, and they have a food truck. I know it's good food, and that comes recommended. So go out there and check them out during halftime or during the intermission, and we'll be back in just. Hey, Derby fans in attendance, we have a car that has left its light on. Car that has left its light on. Which light?
White. It's just a white Prius.
Oh, okay, sorry. It's a white Prius that is legally, we should point out, legally parked in a restricted parking space, but legally parked there. That probably would clue you in if it's you. There's not many of those spaces. White Prius, a license plate CKC 8293. We wanted to let you know that your light is on, so please rectify that situation before your battery dies. But if it does, I got jumper cables. Thanks. ready to return to the action. Great to be back with you live here at the Hall of Dames and live on the interwebs at Twitch. On Twitch, at twitch.gg, on Twitch. I know, I like to be at Twitch. Anyway.
Who also is ready for the action to continue? Let's hear it. We've got a really tight one going too. 54 Runaway Brides to 53 the Bombshells.
Now we're ready to go. We've got Skeletori.
And the person who's standing in front of Skeletori.
That's going to be all of you die. Yeah, that's Olive. So here we go. Basically a tie game, more or less, as we start the second half. Ended up being very even at the end of the first half. The Runaway Brides put a 12-point jam on the board to close things out and close the gap and take the lead. Skeletori is doing battle at the front of the track. Hit Hollywood, knocked Hood off balance, kind of rides down to the inside along Novocaine. Still trying to do battle. All of you die, still at the back of the pack, stuck in.
Yeah, and it looks like Skeletori is trying to make their way around Hollywood and Novocaine. Believe it's Novocaine there at the front.
And now Tori able to get by Hollywood finally on the front end. Has 22 seconds to get around. Looking over her shoulder and sees that all of you die is out as well. So Tori trying to get back to the pack as quickly as she can. Plows into that back wall of defenders for the Runaway Brides and then calls it off.
Not much of a chance to get some points there. All of you die was a little bit hot on the trail.
Hearing penalties coming in. A couple of penalties being reported in. Hollywood and Remy Ruckus will take a seat. Looking at the jammer line now is Cherry Kiss and Evil Twin. Now that I say that, I think you said that already.
No, we're good.
Oh, all right, well.
And off they go.
No
looking
score
to get
net.
around these blockers. The defense has been so hot on both teams tonight. Oh,
and they're
big
getting around the
bump
outside.
there.
Evil Twin was almost clear and ended up tumbling off the track along with the blocker and getting out and getting clear. Instead is Cherry Kiss. Evil Twin knocked into the rail and falls down behind the pack. And is now going to
Bombshells
get up.
trying to do a little regrouping here as Cherry's coming up from behind.
Cherry blocked off to the inside and had to wait for the pack to go by. Murder Mitten's trying to open a portal. Yeah, Scary Nieger tried to block. Cherry Kiss able to absorb it and finish the scoring pass for the Runaway Brides.
Evil Twin kind of at a standstill there, but now pushing through against Lightning the Queen, hoping to get through.
And now we've had a star pass, and Scary Nieger is going to take over as jammer of record for the Bombshells. Cherry Kiss finishing off a second scoring pass, and we'll call it off. So that was the first successful star pass we've seen here in the bout. Runaway Brides put 9 points on the board there. So lead about 12. Well, no, we're going to have a timeout of some fashion. Let's find out what the flavor is. That's an official timeout.
OT. This is a good time to talk about our silent auction.
Absolutely. We haven't really had a chance to get into this. We do have a silent auction down there by the front door at the ticketing desk. If you can go, down there and check out. We'll give you the items in their starting bids at the moment. But we've got 4 items you can go down there and bid on. 4 fantastic items.
Yeah, we've got a $400 gift card, I guess, to Lost Dustman Tattoo. The bidding starts at $75 for that one. And then there's also another tattoo gift card on the block there for $300 for Rhea Riot, bidding starting at $50.
And we've got a $75 gift card to Switchblade Salon for a haircut. That bid starts at $10. And we also have a $40 Yeti bottle. And the bidding starts at that for $10 as well. So that's your 4 items. It's our 2 usual big tattoo gift cards that we often have. And then we've got the Switchblade haircut and another Yeti bottle. We have one of those each time as well. So head down to the front door and check that out at the silent auction area.
Yeah, it's a new year, new you. Go get a tattoo, get a haircut, and drink more water.
Yes, and hydrate. That's always important. You need not be present to win, by the way. So you can bid, and then if you're taken off after this first bout, we will contact you later on, so you don't have to stick around for the end of it. We would love you to, but it's not required, anyway. Meanwhile, the official timeout looks like it's about to wrap up. We will get back to the action. All right, after the timeout, we have had a massive change to the scenario. It is now a power jam for the Runaway Brides. The Bombshells were assessed a late penalty during that official timeout. So Cherry Kiss is at the jammer line for the Brides. This looks a lot like the first half when Cherry Kiss was at the jammer line in about the third or fourth jam.
Oh, we got a little bit of a switch of personnel here.
One more skater back out. Okay, there we go. Looks like Bombshells were short one blocker. So Bombshells have all 4 blockers out there at the very least. And, of course, as we had alluded to, the Bombshells did have a lot of success the last time this scenario presented itself.
Skid Vicious with a big hit there against Cherry Kiss, but Cherry Kiss gets out, is lead jammer.
So Cherry Kiss gets out. The Bombshells now are going to try to get together as best they can and play some defense. Skid Vicious is going to stay goaded to the back of the pack with scaring Jaeger. Now they let Jaeger go through, trying to goad her into not goading, so to speak. However, a good block, and Cherry Kiss was slowed up. Now the Bombshells defense goes to work with that recycling action we talked about before the half. Skid Vicious in the way. Skid Vicious clears out Novocaine. Cherry Kiss to the outside, finishes the scoring pass. However, the defense ate a lot of time off the clock, and we're down to 19 seconds on the power jam clock. Defense now, 3-wall at the front of the pack, able to hold together.
Yeah, Cherry Kiss is coming up, and I realize I called them the lead jammer, but they're the only jammer right now because it is a power jam.
They're still lead jam. You will still see that the ref is holding up the L for lead on that left hand, and that'll do it. The Bombshells defense holding up. We'll have to see what number of skaters Cherry got by. Cherry did get all 5 of those on the second scoring pass. It's a 10-point power jam for the Runaway Brides. So
that puts them 20 points ahead.
Yeah. So 10-point power jam right there. I would say that's
not too shabby.
Yeah, a good effort, good output by Cherry Kiss. Still a good defensive standing by the Bombshells to keep that from being like 15 or 20.
I mean, if without that defense, that could have been a much higher power jam result.
So the Runaway Brides have now built their largest lead, 20 points, 73 to 53.
And we've got all of you die out there for the Brides and Skeletori for the Bombshells. And it looks like Skeletori is meeting some resistance there in the back with some Bride blockers, but all of you die is out for the Brides. So coming around for that scoring pass.
Brides have really come out of halftime here with a more success, and I'm not talented enough at watching Derby to know precisely where that success is coming from at the moment, but so far they have had a lot of success in these first few jams of the second half.
Yes.
Besides that one defensive stalemate so far, and now the Bombshells are toughening up now. The Brides are having more luck getting their jammer out, I should say, is the specifics of it.
Looks like Skeletori's made it out for the Bombshells as well.
Yeah.
So,
and now Olive is rushing around trying to get through for a second scoring pass, and just got up to the back of the pack. We're going to have to wait and see how many points she was able to get. So yeah, I should say the Brides are having more success getting their jammer out more quickly, and then the Bombshells are having to fight a scoring pass instead of just fighting getting the jammer out, which leads to some trickle points. It's a 7-point jam for the Brides there, a scoring pass and a half. So it's 80 to 53, Brides in front.
But we all know how quickly the tides can turn.
Oh, absolutely.
So Bombshells fans, yes, let's hear it, Bombshell fans. There you go.
We got Bedbugs Bunny at the jammer line for the Bombshells, and that'll be Murder Mittens for the Runaway Brides.
Everybody's geared up and ready to go. A little bit of talking, a little bit of lip flapping there going on in the pack, trying to figure out what strategy everybody's going to use.
And we've had the Star passed for the Bombshells. Star was passed right over to Cherry Kiss, and Cherry Kiss is now your jammer of record and lead jammer for the Runaway Brides.
Bedbugs Bunny is fighting there towards the front of the pack, although the pack is moving pretty steadily. Cherry Kiss just swept on through, but now Bedbugs Bunny is out as well, so let's see how this plays out. Cherry Kiss coming around for a scoring pass.
Now
the pack's all of a sudden just got a little fire there, started moving pretty quickly.
Bombshells moved the pack forward as quickly as they could and gave Bugs a chance to catch up and force the call off by Cherry Kiss. 6 points for the Brides there on that jam.
So 86 to 53.
Yes.
We've still got 8 minutes left in the quarter, and we've got Holly Hood and Slappy Go Lucky on the jammer line. Slappy going high, Holly Hood going low and coming out first there. So Holly Hood is our lead jammer. Coming around for some points. Slappy struggling a little bit there towards the back of the pack. Bombshells trying to help them get through. Holly Hood just kind of gets by there on the coping. Very slick.
Slappy Go Lucky still fighting to get through those blockers at the front of the pack. Here comes Holly Hood and runs out of real estate, slides into a wall of blockers at the back of the pack. So now the pack is just going to come grinding towards us here, working their way through the far turn. And
yeah, the name of the game at this point is keeping Holly Hood back, as the bombshell wall is evidence.
15 seconds left on the jam clock, and we are still watching the pack fighting through. Holly Hood goes ahead and calls it off. It puts an end to that stalemate that was slowly working its way through the corner. Seven points for the Brides there. So Brides have stacked onto that lead. Now 40 points, 93 to 53.
All right, let's go ahead and chit-chat a little bit about another one of our sponsors, Siphon
Absolutely.
Draw Apothecary Shop. All natural, non-toxic, handcrafted skin products made by our very own Dali de los Muertos. Visit siphondraw.com for their incredible products. That's Siphon, S-I-P-H-O-N.
We could also tell you about Tucci's Touch. Tucci's Touch Massage specializes in deep tissue, trigger point therapy, and much, much more. They're a wonderful sponsor of the league. They provide massage services to many of our skaters to help with their injuries suffered out here on the track. I've had, when I had a walking boot on for a long time that didn't fit well, I had several sessions with Tucci. So can highly recommend Tucci's Touch Massage. Look them up on Facebook, Tucci, just like Stanley Tucci. It's Tucci's Touch.
And now we're back to the action. Looks like we've got a familiar duo on the jammer line. We've got Evil Twin for the Bombshells and Cherry Kiss for the Runaway Brides.
Runaway Brides, don't forget at halftime, this score is practically tied.
Nope.
So the
Evil
Runaway
Twin
Brides
and Cherry Kiss
yeah.
are both out. Looks like we got a little bit of a jammer race.
Evil Twin gets out much to the delight of the Bombshells fans. What I was just about to say was that this score is more or less tied, and now Evil Twin has come around and ignited the Bombshells fans once again. Bombshells put 2 points on the board. Cherry Kiss on the pursuit puts 3 points on the board for the Runaway Brides. So, net gain of 1 for the Brides there.
And now we've got All of You Die and Bed Bugs Bunny on the jammer line, ready to go.
Both jammers first up to the high side. Bugs clears the blocker out of the way and is still trying to fight to get through.
Bombshell's trying to keep Olive back there towards the front of the pack. But Olive makes it out thanks to Holly Hood there. And Bed Bugs Bunny is towards the back there trying to get through two of very, very formidable blockers for the Brides. Ends up on the infield. All of You Die is also meeting a little bit of opposition there, but it manages to squeak out. Get through.
Olive kind of turned around and managed to finagle away through a small hole in the pack to get out. Pack is now just waiting for Olive to get back, more or less. And looks like Bugs has set up to play defense as well at the back of the pack. They're just going to try to pin in that jammer and stop any further damage at this point. Olive ends up on the infield with 4 seconds left to go, and it definitely makes more sense for Bugs to stay in. There goes Bugs sneaking out. I was going to say stay in and play jammer defense, but once they had Cherry safely blocked onto the infield, then Bugs had served their purpose and helped with jammer defense.
Absolutely.
Right. So 9 points for the Runaway Brides. Brides have tipped over 100 for the bout, 105.55. 4:40 to go in the third quarter. That's Skeletori on the jammer line for the Bombshells.
And Cherry Kiss for Runaway Brides. Both jammers going in. Looks like Skeletori squeaking along the coping there. Cherry Kiss towards the back of the pack, but making their way through pretty quickly. Skid Vicious trying to provide some opposition. Cherry gets out, is now lead jammer. Skeletori takes a little bit of a tumble there, but is back up on their feet, working their way towards the front, trying to get out as Cherry Kiss is coming around for a scoring pass. Now we've got that slow-moving, strategic pack happening.
Yeah, Cherry now is trying to find a way through that pack. That four-wall of defenders for the Bombshells gets her routed off to the infield again. Now Skid Vicious going to clear things out. Sorry, I hate when I turn my head and don't turn my mic. Meanwhile, now Tori gets those front blockers where they're far enough out of play and is able to get through. Cherry Kiss at the back of the pack after doing battle with that wall of defenders for the Bombshells is going to let the clock expire on the jam at that point. 4 more for the Runaway Brides on that jam. And we once again have Evil Twin on the jammer line for the Bombshells.
And Hollywood for the Runaway Brides.
Everybody checking over their shoulders, looking around. Hollywood first to the inside, then tried to go up, getting some help from the pivot.
Yeah,
Pretty
looks
hurt
like
machine.
Evil Twin is hanging on there, even though getting bounced around a little bit by the Brides. But now it looks like they're going to make it out, and they do.
Those last 3 blockers for the Brides were all out of play. They're back in the pack now. Hollywood gets knocked off the track by Scary Yeager and now gets out of the pack. So to try to keep this to 1 scoring pass for Evil Twin.
Evil Twin trying to make their way through. The Brides pick up some points for the Bombshells as Hollywood comes barreling through. Let's see if the Bombshells are able to pick up any points there. Looks like they got 2.
Yep, 2 points there for the Bombshells at the tail end of that jam. And we have Lightning the Queen at the jammer line for the Runaway Brides.
And Bedbugs Bunny for the Bombshells.
A late penalty coming in, so here comes Ash Smash'em off the track. Cherry Kiss now goes on the track. Astro Thought comes off the track. All right, I think we're good now.
Change of personnel.
So says Infidel Castro. We are good now. Bedbugs Bunny finds an opening along the inside and is able to get to the point there.
Lightning the Queen is stuck there a little bit back at the pack. Bombshells are concentrating on keeping them back.
Bedbugs
Bunny coming around, yeah.
Yep, and now taking off as jammer for the Brides is Pretty Hurt Machine. Excuse me, not Pretty Hurt Machine, Murder Mittens. I apologize. Pretty Hurt Machine just got that penalty. Bedbugs Bunny stayed upright somehow after most of the track, but managed to stay upright and calls it off. Gets the 4 points for the Bombshells. It's an impressive amount of balance work.
Oh, that amazes me with all of them, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially when they get so close to the coping.
So we are looking at All of You Die for the Brides, and that's Slappy Go Lucky for the Bombshells. Slappy was in behind Hollywood, and then Hollywood had her attention, turned her head for a second, and Slappy just darted on by. Trying to crawl along on the track and get clear was All of You Die any way possible, right? I just saw for a second there Olive going along on her hands and knee
You gotta
pads.
fight. You gotta fight.
Getting up and going on at speed.
Every inch matters.
That's right. So now Slappy up to the pack, trying to get in front of a couple of skaters, get through if they can, and is going to call it off at the very back of the pack. We'll see how many of those Brides blockers they were able to get in front of. Slappy Go Lucky gets 2 points out of that jam, but also picks up a jammer penalty, so it's going to be a power jam for the Runaway Brides.
Let's hear it, Brides fans. Power jam.
Cherry Kiss at the jammer line for what is almost certainly going to be the last jam of the third quarter. And this third quarter it's been safe to say, has pretty much been all Brides. It was really the Bombshells owned the second quarter, and the Brides have come since the last jam of the second quarter. It has been a nonstop Bride show here.
They come in for the points.
The swings as they go, because yeah, the Bombshells at one point were up 48-28.
Right.
So
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, this has
really
been a big swing for the Brides.
Big swing of momentum for both teams, because the Brides got off to a really hot start too. So interesting to watch as it's gone on. There has been a timeout, an official timeout it would appear, before this Power Jam gets underway for the Brides. So
I just wanted to mention that we do have a vendor here, Moody. Moody offers handmade jewelry, keychains, accessories, and art centered around expressing yourself and creating your mood. They are at the front entrance, so check them out.
And they're right down there, as we had mentioned, down there by the silent auction. Don't forget again, the food truck. Your food truck tonight is Taqueria Las Palmas. We will encourage you to check them out during intermission or grab to go if you're taking off after this first bout. They've got your pretty standard looking menu of burritos, nachos, and tacos and whatnot, but the food is delicious. It might look to be a standard selection, but it is not standard. It is wonderful and tasty. So check them out. As we said, if you're heading home, grab to go. They got to go food. So 12 seconds to go here in the third quarter. Once again, it's a power jam for the Runaway Brides. It's Cherry Kiss. Bombshells have 3 blockers, as do the Brides. Cherry Kiss trying to clear a path for herself. Lightning kind of got in the way there.
Skid Vicious is trying to get in Cherry Kiss's way. Cherry Kiss ends up on the infield. Bombshells kind of throwing themselves around there. Cherry Kiss gets out. Coming around for a scoring pass. Looks like there's some chatter going on there in the pack between both the Brides and the Bombshells.
Yeah, you can tell both teams are definitely trying to figure out exactly how they want to approach this. And you saw the Bombshells there moving together in tandem to the top of the track. That was Antifa and Skid Vicious. And good defense so far. So far, the Bombshells are doing it. You see Scary Nieger at the front of the pack there, calling out instructions. Now Skid with the pivot stripe, still trying to frustrate. Wow, look at that. Cherry Kiss with that sneaky, explosive speed. Just got there. I mean, even just from taking off.
Just missed that block. Just
right.
So speedy.
However, the defense really up to the task, and now here goes Skid to take off, trying to keep this to one scoring pass, and executed to perfection by the Bombshells.
Absolutely. That was pretty good.
Really well done. They knew how much time was on the clock. They took off at a dead sprint.
And they knew how fast the pack needed to go.
Absolutely.
To stop Cherry a little bit.
So ends up being a 5-point power jam for the Runaway Brides to close out that quarter. So it's 114-63, as we said. The Bombshells had a big surge early. The Runaway Brides really took over that quarter with the momentum. So 114-63. We'll be back in 5 minutes with the remainder of this bout. All right, we are back to the action. 15 more minutes of roller derby action here in this home team bout. The Runaway Brides trying to stay undefeated on the season and continue to claim that #1 seed in the playoffs in April. We've got Cherry Kiss at the jammer line and Evil Twin at the jammer line. So I feel like, once again, we had a variety of jammers for a bit, and now we've kind of settled back into having the same jammers again.
What works, works.
Right, exactly. Cherry Kiss able to get through along
Case
the
in
inside.
point, Cherry Kiss is
there
out.
You are. Right. I mean, I'd roll with Cherry Kiss every second and third jam if I had Cherry Kiss on my team too, right?
It looks like Evil Twins meeting a little bit opposition, but Scaren Yeager's trying to blow up that defense there for the Brides.
It's Murder Mittens wearing the pivot stripe at the front of the pack.
Did you see what I did there? Blow up, Bombshells.
Right, there you
go.
go. Evil Twin is able to get out of the pack. Cherry Kiss was able to get by on account of the fact that Scary Jaeger slipped off the track as well while delivering a block. So, now winding their way around. Evil Twin waves at Cherry, and Cherry was letting some more time run off the truck and called it off. Murder Mittens, number 23, also is Raya Riot of Raya Riot Tattoo, one of our silent auction things. Don't forget that silent auction, by the way. Raya
Yes,
Riot
go bid.
Tattoo. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, go bid. Go do it.
Yeah, we just figured we'd let you know, get a second to talk about this before this jam starts. But Tierney is a tattoo artist with a traditional apprenticeship and education, not just in traditional folkish art form, but in the education of the craft, including building machines and needles and the history of the old workers' ways. We'll get you the rest of that in a moment as this jam continues. That's Bugs Bunny for the Bombshells, handing it forward to Scary Jaeger, who gets out. Jaeger is now the jammer of record for the Bombshells. All of you die out as well.
Out too. Let's see where this goes. Scary Jaeger looking to pick up some points for the Bombshells. All of you die is hoping to bridge that gap. Jaeger calls it off.
Yeah, you saw Jaeger had to call it off because those Brides blockers were able to get well enough in front of the Bombshells blockers that Jaeger would not have gotten to the Brides.
Right.
So it's
yeah,
a
it's
forced
very
call
strategic.
Off, right?
I mean, sometimes the best thing you can do is call it off.
And again, and of course, that call off was forced by the blockers of the Brides, are the ones that forced that, and not even so, with the jammer too, but you get what I'm saying. It's multifaceted. You watch the pack sometime, kids. There's a lot going on there. Meanwhile, that is Cherry Kiss once again for the Runaway Brides. We're just going to hold up a sign that has that on it every time she's at the jammer line. Save myself the breath,
and
right?
do we have Skeletori again for the Bombshells, I believe?
Yeah,
looks
that
like
is
it.
Tori.
Yep.
And Tori just about not quite. Now did get clear. Had to get up behind Ash Smash'em, who blocked her off, and now Ash out of play. Taking over his jammer and taking over his lead jammer is Murder Mittens. Raya Riot Tattoo is now out there as the lead jammer for the Runaway Brides. Flying past along the inside as Skeletori was trying to get up to speed, and Murder Mittens calls it off. Skeletori may have even gotten some points on the pursuit at the end. 2 for the Bombshells, 3 for the Brides. Not too bad.
Not at all. That was a very successful star pass.
Very good. Very good.
And we've got Evil Twin again for the Bombshells, and we've got All of You Die again for the Runaway Brides.
Full pack otherwise, it looks like. No, I apologize. Bombshells are
They're light.
Down one
They're light on one,
right. So anyhow, another pack where everybody's just kind of glommed in together there. Runaway, Evil Twin is now going to spin around the outside and
Twin trying to get around Hood, it looks like. Actually, Hood, Novocaine, and Night Mary. So.
Yep. Hollywood was right there and waiting as Evil Twin came around the outside of the pack, and now getting clear along the inside. That's Olive. So All of You Die is the lead jammer for the Runaway Brides.
A little bumping and shoving between Jaeger and Hood there.
Evil Twin at the back of the pack with the other 2 blockers for the Bombshells, so is going to try to play some defense with Cherry Kiss. The Brides blockers were able to opening for Cherry there.
Bombshells kind of kicking Olive around there a little bit against the rail. Everything's kind of moving slow now.
I keep saying Cherry because the back of her jersey says Cherry.
I know.
And even though she's got the orange tag that says 96, I keep saying Cherry. It doesn't help that they're roughly the same size and shape.
They are. I was just going to say they're like
That's
the same build, and they have long hair.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you relieving me of my complete failure as an announcer.
No, not failure. Not at all.
Oh, my goodness. Meanwhile, it is 126.65. We are approaching 10 minutes to go in regulation. That's going to be Bugs Bunny.
And Full Metal Anarchist for the Brides.
Bugs has had pretty good success filling in here for the Bombshells. Bugs, like All of You Die, is a regular member of the Coffin Draggers, who are not skating this evening.
Yeah, both teams have been hit with some injuries and some sickness, and so they've had to call in some help from other teams in the league. That is a common practice, and it just kind of points to the camaraderie that really happens, helping out each other.
It's been so great to see, as the teams have been building back to full strength, to see this sub-program do as it has with, all the teams being able to field full rosters for these home team bouts. Bugs now catching up. Full Metal Anarchist at the back of the pack gets in the way and gets trucked by Bugs. Gets up. Bugs now is going to get around the outside, not around so much. I thought had a path there
Trying
past
to
Murder
go
Mittens,
around,
right.
yeah. Murder Mittens is there, and so is Lightning. Now we got a little shift there. It looks like Murder Mittens holding Bedbug's Bunny back.
All right. There is a power jam coming up for the Bombshells, but not after an official timeout. I was going to say, I am not allowed to call penalties. Not that I should, because I really don't know any of them, but I knew that was a back block, and it really wasn't intentional. Not intentional back block. I mean, Metal was just trying to get up, and unfortunately got up right in the way that would make it a back block.
Most of the penalties are
Yeah,
accidental.
that was completely an accident. That was really just, that was not even trying to be a block. They just happened to stand up in the jammer's way.
Just a matter of circumstance.
Picked up a jammer penalty. Ain't that the way? So, meanwhile, let's see. So, that was outside pack referee Crash. I was trying to figure out if Crash is going to skate with the minor assaults. They're OPRing in skates. That is not required. So I think Crash is skating with the minor assaults. Yep, thumbs up, double thumbs up. I was going to say, it is not at all required to OPR in skates. That's a non-skating role. You don't have to be wearing them.
I think Crash likes being on skates, though, no matter what. Yeah.
It would seem. Also, again, and I love to point this out, Crash is an active member of our minor assaults, being 17 or younger, and also is one of our adult league referees, which the ones in stripes are the ones who can call penalties, like the refs who are not wearing stripes, just wearing the black shirts, so they're the what is a NRO, right? NSO? Non-skating, and then, but the skaters who can't call penalties, the refs who can't call penalties are just also NSOs? I don't know. I don't know. You think me being married to a non-skating official, I'd know things like this, but I pay no attention to Freya at any point. Are you kidding me? Whatever. No, I'm just making sure. But I was going to say, no, Crash is also a skating ref, which is the point. Crash honestly summed out skates with the adult skaters and calls penalties on them, and then can call an insubordination on them if they don't like it. So
there you go.
You really have people of all age levels and experience levels all working together to make this thing go. It's a lot of fun. Some of our league executives are 22 years old, and steering the league.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Exactly. So great to see.
Oh,
now,
wait.
So
personnel changes for the Bombshells, I think. Does this look like a Bride's Power Jam?
Yeah, it looks like it's turned into a Bride's Power Jam. So after discussion, we were talking about that back block penalty. They wiped that back block off the board. So they did find that to be incidental contact. However, there was also a penalty on the Bombshells blocker. So when they wiped off the penalty for the Bride's jammer, the Brides ended up with a power jam. That's where we're at. That's what that official timeout was for.
And we've also got Cherry Kiss coming out.
There goes Cherry Kiss.
A very fast-moving pack.
Well, that was the point of that OTO then, was to discuss wiping that penalty out because of the incidental nature, just like we were talking. So there you go. There is wiggle room for penalties to be rescinded based on it just being completely incidental. Justice is served. Cherry Kiss is out there now again, now coming up on another scoring pass. There's 21 seconds left on the jam clock.
Yeah, it looks like we got some Bombshell blocking action going on there. Skarenjaeger, Skid Vicious, and
Slappy.
Slappy, yeah. Unusual to see Slappy in a blocking position. That's why I kind of hesitated there.
So Novocaine clears a path, and Cherry Kiss gets out. And a whistle will bring a stop to that jam.
We'll see how many points that got the Brides.
All right, 10 points. 2 full scoring passes for Cherry Kiss. It was very interesting in that last jam. I noticed that we had Novocaine, Hollywood, and Cherry Kiss out there. And, of course, Novocaine is mom to Cherry Kiss and Lightning McQueen. And Hollywood is Novocaine's sister, so is aunt to those two. And so when the 4 of them are all on the track at the same time, it's like Thanksgiving dinner.
Family affair.
Yeah. They could go on Family Feud. Meanwhile, there is we have a skater off the track.
Skeletori takes a little bit of a bump there.
And skater back on the track. No stop to the action because the skater's okay. We are right back to it. I told you all stay behind that yellow line. That's not just hot air at the top of the bout. See?
Oh, no, it's
We're
not.
now at 3 of the 5 bouts when the skaters come off the track this year. Meanwhile, Full Metal Anarchist is back there and just is kind of content to be behind those blockers. Probably took quite the fall and probably doesn't feel too much like getting hit in the clavicle too much right now. So there's 18 seconds left in the jam. Yeah, no, skater off the track. We didn't even stop. So Morning Madness went vaulting down there to check on her and is now waiting to get back on the track because Metal got back on the track before the medic did. So now Metal is going to fight through and get out of the pack and then takes a tumble and gets up and is going to get out again. Look at that.
That is persistence.
I want to get a round of applause specifically for Full Metal Anarchist for coming off the track, getting up, catching up to the pack, and getting out to be an active scorer before the end of the 60 seconds. Are you freaking kidding me? I can't believe she got back to get out of the pack after that. Wow.
That's a trooper.
That's fascinating. We, meanwhile, looking back here, it's hands are all up. There we go. Oh, that hand's up. I did not mean to. The one person beside me whose hand wasn't up. I'm the worst ever. All the hands are up. Glares at the person next to me. Oh my gosh. That is Hollywood on the inside is jamming for the Runaway Brides.
And right next to her is Olive. Sorry, not Olive. Where was I getting Olive from?
Yeah.
Evil Twin.
Evil Twin.
For the Bombshells.
Kind of fighting along. Hollywood still had her head turned. Had a huge opening along the inside. Now gets out and is now going to sit at the front and wait to defend. Block somebody off the track hard. Yeah, Hollywood's just going to play jammer defense. So now we have a 5-wall of Runaway Brides at the front of the pack. You thought a 4-wall was hard.
Oh, yeah. Some Bombshells are trying to fight their way through. Looks like Scaren Yeager pushing a little bit on the Brides' back there. Twins just waiting for that opening, but Hollywood is just not having it.
Yep, so the Runaway Brides with a bit of a statement jam here and just uniting at the front and not allowing a single person through.
Twin just kind of threw up her arms
yeah.
like, what do I do?
What do you do?
What do
exactly.
I do here?
What do you do? So voluntarily no points attempted or scored by Hollywood as lead jammer. No points for either side. We'll have a timeout here so we can talk over some of the action. Team timeout, Bombshells, excuse me. Team timeout, Bombshells. So, speaking of the regulators, I think that's one thing we haven't talked about yet.
We have not.
All
no.
right. So, and I didn't know what the first page you got to yet. I don't know if we did sidewalks.
No, we did. We did sidewalks.
Meanwhile, the regulators, as we've said, are an all-volunteer group. If you're interested in being part of the roller derby community and being part of what's going on here, but hitting people isn't necessarily your thing, or if you don't like or can't skate. I've never been able to roller skate. My ankles were deformed when I was a baby, so I couldn't wear roller skates for my own safety. You can still help. The regulators are always looking for dedicated and eager minds to learn our rule set and help keep our skaters on the track safe. The regulators are an open gender team. There are various levels. Oh, hang on, rewind. The regulators are an open gender team or lack thereof. Throw that in for Freya. There are various levels of officiating that go on during roller derby bouts. Come be a part of the action, help the league grow, help keep the skaters on the track safe. Call penalties, don't call penalties, track penalties. There's all sorts of rules, there's all sorts of roles that go on down there. Ask any skater or person wearing stripes how you could get involved with the regulators. Get into Derby free, says Impal beside me. Also, we were going to finish that Raya Riot blurb because there's a nice little bit here about Raya Riot, again, who is also, Clark Kent name is Tierney, also goes by Murder Mittens on the track. Longtime skater with us, of course. Tierney's connection to the history of tattooing builds a deep respect for tattooing itself. Tierney's a native-born Phoenician whose life has always included creating art, with tattooing being what she has become most passionate of. That again, Raya Riot Tattoo, number 23 Murder Mittens, but that is part of the silent auction, so get down there and avail yourself of that.
And we've got Astrothought being the first time on the jammer line is out, looking to score some points, but Bedbugs Bunny is coming up behind for the Bombshells.
So Astro, usually a blocker for the Brides, so now some of the blockers are going to get a little chance to go out and
absolutely,
air
and
it
the
out on
jammers
the
are going to get a little break.
Yeah, and Astro calls it off, getting run up into the rail with Bugs closing in behind.
Because you know, jam after jam after jam, those jammers have got to be tired.
So now Hollywood is going to get up there and jam for this one.
And Scaren Yeager for the Bombshells.
Yeager on the jammer line. Both of them are going to start really close to the jammer line, which is frankly unusual for Hollywood. Hollywood usually starts over there.
Over here, yeah.
Yeah. So Hollywood right up on the line this time, and it's going to run
Both
into
of them pushing their way through. Scarenjager in the middle of the pack. Hollyhood coming up at the high there. Getting some resistance from Slappy Go Lucky on the Bombshells. Gets bumped off into the infield. Hollyhood does.
Jaeger bumped off to the inside, bumped off again.
Now we've got that wall of brides again.
Hollyhood is back there being a personal blocker against Scarenjager.
There you go.
And is now going to try to get through, but Evil Twin is going to pin Hollyhood.
Jaeger's making a move on the brides there. Let's see if they can make it out. And she does.
There we go. Ducking along to the inside and getting past those last couple of brides blockers.
Hollyhood kind of poking around there at the back. Maybe waiting for Jaeger. Maybe wanting to bump shoulders again. Jaeger tumbling a couple people down back there. I'm not sure what happened with that.
So Jaeger gets through and is going to watch the rest of the clock expire. There wasn't much time left on that clock.
No. Got a few points there for the Bombshells. We'll see how that played out.
Ends up being a full 5 for the Bombshells. Scarenjager gets all 5 of those points. We are going to be about 2:30 to go until the end of regulation. When this jam starts, that's Skeletori once again for the Bombshells.
And Cherry Kiss for the brides. Scaretoli is kind of weaving in and out of some of the brides there, hoping to find an opening. So does Cherry Kiss, but Cherry Kiss finds that opening sooner and is out, is our lead jammer. Skeletori is trying to work her way through. Lightning the Queen and Ash Smash'em. Both of them are doing a good job at holding her back, while Cherry Kiss makes another round. The pack is just kind of creeping at this point. Bombshell's trying to build a wall. Skid Vicious stops Cherry momentarily. Remy Ruckus doing a nice job holding Cherry back.
Just 7 seconds left on the jam clock. Cherry is going to bounce up again and look for an opening, trying to push through.
Skeletori's doing a little bit of defense up there too.
And the full 60 seconds does expire.
And we've got Hannibal Lecture on the jammer line, and All of You Die.
So it's a 10-point jam for the brides, 148.73. And there will be time for one more jam. Wanted to look at the clock there.
Oh.
So this is not the last jam
Hannibal
of regulation.
takes down some of the brides there trying to get through.
Olive is dancing along at that back wall of the pack, trying to find an opening and get shoved off just eventually by Evil Twin. Slow-moving pack going down through the first turn. Now trying to break free. Hannibal Lecture gets hit up high by Pretty Hurt Machine. Took a pretty good hit. Back up to it now, though.
What's always amazing to me is how quickly the brides can build a wall.
Yeah, that's and again, that's as we said early in the bout, you know, that grinded out defensive effort and the wall making and things like that the Bombshells really got good with when they were having that hot streak in the second quarter. The brides come with that. That's their calling card.
Absolutely,
is to grind the other teams into
That's
dust.
their thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was really interesting watching the the Bombshells having success playing that exact game for that long stretch there in the second quarter.
And we've got a little bit of a stalemate here.
Yeah, clock
just kind of
winding
lines, kind of just walls kind of creeping along together.
Right. So one more jam in regulation. It'll be Bedbugs Bunny one last time for the Bombshells. And Cherry Kiss one last time for the Runaway Brides.
Do you want to tell our newbies how the last jam works?
Well, the last jam, basically, this is the last jam of regulation. Now, in this jam, if the team that is behind does not collect any penalties, and if the team that is ahead does collect penalties, then we have what is called a penalty jam, and it's basically like overtime. And then the team that is behind, if they can continue skating clean and the team that's ahead continues getting penalties, that can continue, is how that works. But that scenario has to keep playing out exactly like that. If both teams get penalties or if neither team gets penalties, then no penalty jam. So there you are. That's the explanation of penalty jams in Bank Track Roller Derby. We will now, after Cherry Kiss calls it off, we're going to check on penalties, and we'll see if we get our signal from head referee Mama Seidel.
And also for the newbies, it is customary to come down to the track and give your favorite team or both teams. We don't,
Yeah.
it's all about the fun. Give them
Now-
a high five at the track. So once we call it,
There we
which
are.
it's called,
That is
come
it.
on down to the track and give your player a high five.
Final whistle, remaining undefeated on the season and moving to 3-0. It's the Runaway Brides. Your final score, 152-73. Runaway Brides closed that game on a 100-22 run. That is quite a run to close out a game.
Yes.
So, because I had to think about it, it was 52-51, I believe, at halftime. So, sight unseen. Wow. What
The
a
Brides
performance.
just proving
Yep.
once again why they're undefeated.
Absolutely. And now here come the Bombshells as well. Let's hear it from the Bombshells crowd. Bombshells hung right there with the Brides
I
and gave
know.
them
I'm
all
just
they
going to give a
wanted.
little shout out to the
Yeah.
Bombshells. Love me some Bombshells.
Yeah, well, yeah, there you are.
My
yeah.
child is
And
a
there were,
bombshell.
yeah, and you mentioned there were some injuries. Mads Incognito left the game before halftime and was injured. So the Bombshells did have some attrition going on from that aspect as well.
Yeah,
Perhaps
sending,
that's why,
sending our best to
Yeah.
Mads.
and maybe that's why the Brides come back, and Brides were strong as they ever were. So
Absolutely. Yeah, they took
takes a
over
toll.
that last
Takes
half.
a toll having to fight that hard against a team that's always bringing it like the Brides do. So that is the end of the game. That is the end of our only home team bout for the night. Stick around for the minor assaults. I wanted to talk to you all about playoffs momentarily. Playoff scenarios based on that final score. What you're looking at now is the Beauties and the Bombshells are now currently both 0-3. Beauties and the Bombshells play each other at our next home team bout, which is February 1st. Beauties and the Bombshells are playing each other for the 4 seed. The winner of that game goes to the playoffs. Beauties and Bombshells February 1st.
Big game.
The Beauties and Bombshells February 1st for the 4 seed in the playoffs. So the 4 seed, no? Oh. Look at that. Old
Oh.
school.
Wow.
Okay. I get it completely now. I got you. Yeah. It'll be done like bank track tournament was. All right.
That's
Got it. Okay, perfect. Like Battle on the Bank was this year. All right, that's the first I'd heard of that. Sorry. Yeah, I've been given bad info the past several bouts. No, well, no, that's honestly not bad info. That's good info. Look at that. So basically, the Beauties and the Bombshells, instead of this being for the 4th seed, they are going to be competing to be 4th versus 5th.
Yes.
And they're going to be competing, because the other half of this discussion is now that the Brides are 3-0, the Valkyries are 2-0. On February 1st, the Valkyries play the Coffin Draggers, who the Coffin Draggers are currently sitting in 3rd at 2-1.
Right.
So if the Valkyries win that game, then it's going to be the Brides versus the Valkyries on March 1st for what I now know to be a first-round bye and a 1 seed. Wow.
Okay, that's
So
big.
that's what we're looking at
Yeah.
now. So no teams miss the playoffs. All teams get in the playoffs. That's wonderful to hear. That is honestly, I'm glad to hear that. I like the old school 5-team bracket.
The more action, the better.
I have no vote. I have no opinion in the matter. But me as a sports fan, I'm like.